Thank you for tuning in to the World Builder's Anvil, episode 150. Gratitude is the second most important tool in my world building toolbox.
Don't know where to start building your fantasy world? Do you need more? Does it make sense? Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination. This is the place that will help prime your mind. Now, it's time to heat up the forge, break out the mithril ingots and hammer. Welcome to the World Builder's Anvil. I'm your host, Jeffrey W. Ingram. Let's sup from the mug of Java and build.
Welcome back. As always, I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And I'm Michael Miller.
Yeah, and
wow, that sounded kind of weird. You know, I'm excited because it's episode 150.
Yeah, it's 150. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, so...
Yeah, no, it's 150. It's super... I'm excited about this.
I can hear the paper flipping. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, as excited as I am about it, it's here somewhere, about it being episode 150. Well, you kind of, I don't want to say you made a promise, but you did say something a while back. It might have been actually around this time last year, and I have it in the contract. I'm trying to find... Yeah, here. This is going to come out right around Christmas, isn't it?
No, it's Thanksgiving.
Today's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it'll be the Monday after Thanksgiving, of course. Why? I don't know what the heck you're talking
about.
Well,
I thought you said you were not going to be publishing any episodes during the weeks of Thanksgiving or Christmas. Here it is. Found it. Right here. Page 47.
I'm glad I wrote that into a Playboy magazine.
I know the words are kind of, long. There's a lot of long legalese in there, but right there. So... I think you need to apologize to me and the audience because you got me up so early today.
Yeah. Well, I would like to, instead of apologize, maybe say thank you to you and the audience for joining me.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah. Nice transition
on this special episode. But for me, thinking about it, one of the big reasons that I wanted to do this episode was, one, I've had a lot of life changes over the last year, and I feel tremendously grateful to this audience. And they feel like friends and family. And the reason I didn't want to was it was my family time. And to me, recording these podcasts feels like family time, but a family in the good way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like it's family time for me. I feel like it's just fun time. Because I love doing this show with you. Mm-hmm. So I'm really grateful to you of the show. And, I totally understand about, because you have had some big life changes this year. I mean, I think you're the only person I know with it personally that's had a gender reassignment. So that's significant. That's a big change.
Yeah. That was what I wasn't planning to talk about, but, yeah.
Should I have not mentioned that?
Yeah, no, this is an audio podcast. No one would have ever known.
Gotcha. Jeff finally had his off-world alien genitalia modified. So it now has a 12 D cell DC motor in it, which is pretty cool.
And for all you Dungeons and Dragon players, that is D20 damage, baby.
Getting back to gratitude. So we wanted to start off this episode really just by thanking you guys, like from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of Jeff's. Thank you guys so much for coming on the ride with us. And I don't know if we mentioned this in one of the prior episodes, but Jeff was talking, because Jeff tracks the numbers. I don't track the numbers because I don't have access to all that stuff. Frankly, it's part of the technical aspect of the show that I really should get deeper ingrained in, but Jeff and I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and go through it and have him show it to me. So he just updates me. And he had told me, I think it was a week or two ago, that in the past, was it month or two?
No.
No?
It really started back in July. Essentially, the first 6 months of the year, the best month we had was about 2,300 downloads, which I was excited with, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's awesome.
From July on, we've never gone under 3,000 downloads a month, and we've had 1 month over 4,000.
And I think what I was leading into is something is it seemed to me, I thought you were implying this, I still think it's true, but is that once we changed the outro and we started requesting of you guys to share the show with friends, it seemed like it
at
reflected.
That time,
it seemed like the numbers were reflecting that.
That was the month we went to 4,000. I mean, really.
So if you guys are sharing the show with your friends, thank you so much. I additionally want to ask another request. Join us on the Facebook page. If you guys are listening to the show, like, we'd love to interact with you directly. Like, it's great that you have us on your morning commute, or if you're sitting around studying and you're listening to the show, whatever you're doing, thanks for letting us into your world. But we'd love for you to jump into ours, and the Facebook page is the best way to do that.
Yeah. So we have a page. I'll link it in the show notes, and we recently created a Facebook group as well too. There's some exclusive content I've started sharing. Probably Sunday nights is kind of my plan for when to do it. Talk a little bit about the upcoming episode, like you'll hear a little bit about this before it comes out, and just to be grateful and to talk a few minutes to my audience. It's still very small right now. I haven't really made a huge push, but I think it's Facebook groups, or facebook.com/groups/Undercroft. And if you just go and search for Fantasy Worldbuilders Undercroft, it should come up as well too. That's the actual name, but the URL is just strictly /Undercroft if you go directly to the Facebook group. So that'll also be the show notes.
I wanted to make fun of you for making that name, but I realize now the genius in such a weird name, it's easy to find. The Fantasy World Builders Undercroft. Like, I was like, what the heck is this? I was like, Undercroft. But I realized that there's like nothing else out there with that name. It's really easy to find it. So.
Well, that too, and also the other reason was an Undercroft, could in theory be under the bloomery of a actual anvil. So you could have an Undercroft, and in some video games, like if you're a fan of Dragon Age 3, the Undercroft is where their crafting took place.
I did not know that. But I'm not a blacksmith, so I know you might have thought that.
No.
So yeah, to summarize all that, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. So let's hop on into the topic here today, and I want to get into 3 reasons why gratitude is so powerful. And one of the big reasons is, even in an imperfect world, focusing on what works helps keep us happy. And I think so often we forget that, you go to your Facebook feed, you probably have the friends like I do who all they do is post negative stuff, how bad their commute was home, how bad, this is, that is, they don't like that political person, or, their political person is being, picked on by someone else. And they get this divisiveness and this anxiousness that grows if you immerse yourself in a world that is not grateful. So for me, I know the world's not perfect, and there are things I watch out for, and there are things I fight for when I need to. But in general, what I do is I like to focus on the things that I should be grateful for, because it reminds me of why I'm doing things like world building.
One of the things that I wanted to key in on that you said there is talking about, like, when people are griping about stuff and you're harping on the negativity in the world. There's a weird dichotomy that happens there, and if I mention this, you might become more present to it in your life, that if you complain about a given thing, there is generally a satisfaction in complaining about a thing being a given way, because you get to be right about something. So you're like, oh, my boss is a jerk, my boss is a jerk. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you're right. He is a jerk. Or you're wrong. He's not a jerk, but you think that he's a jerk, and you're right about that. Mm. So you get focused on that, and the satisfaction about complaining comes from being correct about it, because that's your perspective. All you're doing is self authenticating your own perspective. The problem with it is you're not living in a mindset of gratitude, and you're subsequently unconsciously bringing yourself down. Yeah. Even though you're kind of like, trying to make yourself feel better maybe by venting about a given thing. But what we try to foster is the idea that even if something's bad in your life, find a way to be grateful for it. My car broke down. But you know what? I have a car. I still have the expense to take care of the car, but at least I have a car and I can drive to work. There's a lot of people that have to, hitch a ride or take the bus or walk to work. And that's a lot more difficult than the problems that I have to deal with. So I'm grateful that I have the car, even if I have some expenses to take care of. So when those problems crop up, when those annoyances in life crop up, find a way to be grateful about it. And it just brings you up. It makes you feel better. And when we're working our way towards creativity, it really helps feed the energy as opposed to being mired in the doldrum of the annoyances around your life.
Yeah, and the way it really helps me in world building, and in other ways as well too, is it allows me to be present in what I'm doing, because the other flaw that happens when you get into the negativity of everything over there I don't like, but everything over here might be good, but I don't focus on what's good by me. I focus on what's bad over there, even to the point of making myself anxious and depressed or sad. And then when I'm trying to do something like world building, I'm not present in that moment. So I get less world building done. And when I get less world building done, then I have less chance to do other things as well too.
It's actually kind of funny because Jeff and I just experienced this dichotomy before we restarted the show. We actually already recorded this for about seven minutes, and we decided to scrap the audio because I was having some serious technical difficulties. Today, the show is being brought to you from the Technical Difficulties studio in my home. So I was having a tough time trying to open up some files and get where to work, and Jeff was laughing at me. He was pretty much making fun of me the whole time. And I was getting really frustrated and at mood, and then we started to record, and I'm like, this isn't going to work. I'm such in a junky mood that we're starting to do an episode about gratitude. So let's just scrap it and reset it. And then I got things to work, and now I'm in a much better mood because we've been laughing for the past 10 minutes about how stupid our start was.
And that's also why we have
to see, that's just it, yeah.
If we actually happen to sound wise at this moment, it's because we got to listen to all the stupidity we said the first time. And
yes, we have the benefit of editing.
We could be like, oh, that was really dumb.
Do-over.
Yeah, so the thing is, stay present in what you're doing. Being happy is largely, and not for everyone, I understand there's actual, real-life depression where there's a chemical imbalance, and that's not what we're talking about, but you can artificially bring yourself down to that state. Stay happy in your life. You can get a lot more done.
You can also quite purposefully bring yourself to a place of happiness. Obviously, we're barring the circumstances if somebody might have a mental blockage, of whether it be a chemical imbalance or what have you. But happiness is a choice. Mm-hmm. We see it in movies and TV all the time. People are, it's like an unconscious thing we all already know. But in movies, it's like, oh, once I meet that girl, then I'll be happy. Or once I get that big promotion, then I'll be happy. Or once I get this new thing, then I'll be happy. I'll be so happy once we buy that house. No, happiness is a choice. You can be happy despite your circumstances right now. You have that power. And gratitude.
You have to understand that happiness
is a gateway to it.
Yeah, exactly. Happiness is also something that only happens now. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after. You can't control what has happened. You might not control everything that will happen, but happiness is a state that you can bring yourself, but it only exists in the moment. And if you are grateful and thankful for the things you have, you are more likely to be happy, and that will allow you to be present. And when you're present, you can be happy.
Yeah, I want to shorten that straight out to happiness lives in the present. I kind of like that. Happiness is a present in the present for those who are present. You see what I did there?
Thank you, Michael Claus.
So speaking of world building, let's kind of guide this right into the world building. I know we said that, obviously being happy and having gratitude about all things is a motivator into writing. So why don't you get into that, because you have that at the top of your list.
Well, it's actually second on my list now. You don't have my.
I thought it was one.
I added the third reason.
That's not fair. You now have to make that your third reason, so that motivation can be first, because that's what I have.
No, because I'm not grateful because you look stupid.
Oh, that's not right.
All right, but motivation really is an important thing, and not so much being able to be motivated because you're happy. But it's realizing the impact that you have when you do your outreach, when you're reaching out to your players, when you're reaching out to your audience, when you're reaching out to the people who read your blog. Don't get focused on the numbers you want. Focus on the numbers you have. And this is the thing I see a lot with people who are trying to outreach, especially like I am, at a larger scale than just to the players. They're essentially their friends and the other people who they play with in real life games. Understand, even if I had 10 people that listen to me, that would be 10 people who actually want my perspective, want to listen to me and Michael banter about our perspectives about this, that could not get it any other way. And luckily, our numbers are growing, and I have no idea how many listeners I actually have, but I can only look at the total download numbers. But it's a lot more than I ever would have expected.
I think when you say 10, that's probably accurate, because I'm fairly confident the rest of them are just listening to me.
That could be true.
And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful to have you as a co-host, because you make me look so much better by comparison.
Well, that, and since it's an audio podcast, they can't see that I'm just so pretty, so they can actually still focus on you. So that's why I stuck with the audio format.
It's an interesting line you choose to draw in the sand on that one, since we're going to start putting videos up on Facebook soon.
You dream of being as pretty as I am.
There'll be no arguments as to who is the prettier man.
Yeah, you got a pretty mouth. Okay.
Oh, come on. I wasn't gonna go there, though. I did talk about your gender reassignment. So.
Fair.
I guess that's fair. So, do you want to start at your personal list, or do you want to get into mine? Or
well, I want to go into 3, which is it helps family and friends buy in. When your mood is happier, because you are legitimately grateful for even sometimes the imperfections in your life, when you can do that, that becomes contagious to people around you. And it helps start shifting their mood. Like, part of this is only possible because my wife has become a lot more grateful the same way I have over the past year. So as we both have refocused, it helps both of us stay motivated. She can buy into me talking about world building and argue with me that you can't get a podcast mic for Christmas because that would be a business expense. Woohoo! And doing a world building business, now it's like, okay, I want some new software or some new books to help me world build. Oh, those are business expenses. Oh no. But I get a lot more buy-in from her. I get a lot more support from my family than when I was worried about what they thought. Instead of being worried about what other people think, I don't. If they say something to me, I take it in at the moment. But if not, I'm just grateful for what I do know, which is I have great download numbers. I have a great co-host, Mike. I have, sorry,
Michael. Thank you, Jeff.
You
do have a great co-host.
I have great friends and great family, and I love them for why they help my life get better, and I don't focus on the reasons that sometimes family can be annoying. All right, so now let's hop into the reasons we're grateful. And we'll say why I'm grateful, because Michael, obviously, it's obvious why he's grateful. It's because he gets to work with me.
How could I not be?
But, essentially, about the time I started this podcast...
The thing that I find funny when we start going back and forth about who's better, who's great, and who's awesome is Jeff and I are not like this. Like, we're not. No. We're actually quite humble with each other, which cracks me up, because when we get together,
it is the podcast personas.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
Well, it's funny too, because especially if you listen to my older episodes, I'm a very non-judgmental person on other people. Even when I disagree with how or why they do things, it's their choices on what to do and how to live and how to world build and what a correct world looks like. I don't consider myself a genius that has the only path to a happy life or the only path to correct world building. But, if you would just listen to the way I talk to Michael, you might think I'm a really judgmental jerk.
No, it's not the case. Jeff is a big sweetheart. He's actually really. Actually, what's kind of funny, this is a little off subject. Do you care if I go on a small tangent?
Could I ever stop you?
Small.
Okay.
You could stop me. You could say no.
Go ahead.
Small tangent. Jeff, this might embarrass him a little bit for me to say this, but Jeff, he used to be a scout in the Army during scary potential conflict. Like, Jeff has seen some things that a lot of people wouldn't want to see, and he also knows how to do some very terrifying things. You wouldn't know that if you just met Jeff. Like, he's such a kind, gentle person. He could probably tear your face off if he had to, but you'd never expect that of him because he's such a decent person. And a long time ago, Jeff and I's relationship was very much based around our friendship around the gaming table. Like, we met through a few friends and we played a lot of games, and we ran, D&D, Scavengers, a lot of White Wolf stuff, Werewolf, Vampire, and all that sort of thing. That's how we became friends. I felt comfortable talking to Jeff on a personal level, on like talking about like friendship, love, caring, gratitude, like all those things that some people get uncomfortable about. It's not the type of thing that we generally talked about at that point in time in our relationship. We pretty much talked about the fun stuff. And he called me up out of the blue one day just to tell me how much he appreciated me as a friend, and that really, valued my input and my existence in his world. And it was out of the blue, but it was really a comfortable conversation. It wasn't awkward or weird. And I was like, wow, that's really sweet, man. I really appreciate you too. Like, I really value your existence in my world as well. And it was because of something he was doing at the time, and he invited me to go to that. So that both changed our perspectives and the way we approach people and gratitude in our life. So like I have genuine gratitude because I had a couple other friends of mine who were trying to get me to go to that program, and you are the one that got me to go to it because of that phone call. And wow. That program changed my life. And I don't know if I'm pretty sure I've shared that with you before, but I don't know, because I actually forgot ever saying that to you. I was probably drinking at the time, but yeah, you won't downplay it. I'll never forget it. It was one of the very, very rare circumstances where I was actually working on a Saturday. I almost never work on Saturdays, but I was working on Saturday that day. I still remember the house and exactly where I was when I got that phone call, because I am not exaggerating when I say that it was life-changing. Oh, crap. Well, thank you very much. And that thank you got to win, because you know that I'm not one that does well with compliments, so I do appreciate it, though. You were on personal life? Yeah, so essentially... Okay, you go ahead. I'm going to sit back for a minute. Yeah, essentially about the time I started this podcast, some real bad stuff came up with my family. Not between me and my wife, but in my family, which was very impactful and had a lot of negative vibes that really slammed me. And there were sometimes that if it wasn't for the show, I would have stopped doing the show, just because life became so infuriating at times because of what was going on in my personal life that it would have been easy to just come home from work and hop into video games or do something less impactful than what I get to do here. But it was really the audience in part, and then Michael coming on board that really helped keep the show going. But really, like you were on the verge of kind of throwing in the towel on it? No, I mean the audience would have kept me going, but it really did help reinforce it when you came aboard too. That was one of the reasons I was changing to a weekly format, because I used to do like 3 times a week, and my episodes were getting that's kind of lousy, and because I didn't have the time to put into it, and I was getting frustrated, and so I kind of shifted to weekly, and then you said you'd come on and help co-host it, which has really also helped motivated me as well too. Sometimes I actually prepare ahead of time now. But me too, occasionally. And Michael likes when I put a lot of work into it before the show, so he can ignore the bullet points. Well, no, I like it because you definitely do more of the notes than I do. I like it when I can come up with I don't want to pat myself on the back too hard, but like some of the show topics that I've come up with, and we've come up with some really good shows off of some of the ideas that I've had, but I don't tend to flesh them out as much as you do. Should. Yeah. I mean, it's like we're going to have a natural flow of the conversation, and sometimes we kind of go off the show topics, but usually it's because it's what's working in the episode at the moment. It's because we're present in the moment. And, but over the past 6 months, that part that was really chaotic in my life has stabilized, and hopefully will be improving going forward. Only time will show that, but at least it's stabilized at this point, and I'm really grateful that it's at least stabilized. Should I go to my number one? Yeah, sure. Okay. So, the first part we were talking about was like, Worldbuilder, gratitude. And right now, Jeff and I are just talking about what we're grateful for in our own lives. And we've got lists we're going down. So my first foremost number one is my home life and my marriage. I'm so grateful. I'm married to an amazing woman. My wife is so wonderful and understanding of like my nerdy endeavors. She's very supportive. One of the things that like I really, really loved about her is that she allows me to be who I am without being judgmental about it. Like when we first met, I was also on a different in a different place in my life, so I was at a place where I could just comfortably be myself, for better or for worse. So if somebody doesn't like who I am, it's like, okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Like if someone likes who I am, great. If someone doesn't like who I am, great. You know, it doesn't matter. Like there's a, you know, what, 7 billion people in the world, roughly, and they're not all going to like you, and that's okay. Because millions upon millions of people are going to love you for exactly who you are if you just show them, which is why it's so important to be honest and forthright and just be who you are unapologetically. Because you're not going to find those super cool people to have in your life, like Jeff, like my wife, like, you know, my close friends, if you are not just authentic about who you are. So the thing that was great when I met Sarah is that that's who I was being. I was able to just comfortably be myself, and she found that very attractive. Not necessarily that she likes all the stuff that I'm into. She's not. Like, I'm into a lot of nerdy habits. Like, I was playing a lot of Magic cards at the time. I play tabletop role playing, although we haven't been doing that a whole lot lately. I love zombie themed stuff. You know, my NaNoWriMo book is a zombie book. I've got zombie board games. I love zombie video games. And she dabbles in some of these things. Like, she did sit down to try to play Magic with me, like once, and it lasted about 8 minutes. But the point is that she was willing to let me be who I am and just love exactly who I am, even if there's a lot of stuff that I like that she doesn't. Mm-hmm. And I'm so appreciative of that. I'm so grateful for her in my life.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that is a key. And that actually kind of leads me to my next one, because there have been a couple of conditions I've had medically over the past several years where I kind of grew okay with, because they just became new normals in my life. And one is my knee. I got injured in the service, I don't know, a long time ago, back in the early 90s. And essentially it got so bad to where I was having trouble actually walking, and we were talking about getting an actual knee replacement surgery because of all, you know, my ligaments don't work in my knee anymore. I'm missing cartilage in my knee. Essentially the only thing that holds my knee together at this point are the muscles in my leg. And so a lot of inflammation, pretty constant pain.
I would say the dark magic spells that we perform on your knee on a weekly basis tend to help hold it together too. I mean, I haven't been sacrificing goats for nothing, have I?
You were doing non-human sacrifices for me?
Well, you didn't say they had to be humans. You just said sacrifices. I didn't.
I thought that was common sense.
All right, I'll switch it up.
Jeez. Okay. Well, no.
What's wrong with goat knees?
Well, maybe there's no need to rush anymore. I got my wife, who's never satisfied with me not being, or being. My wife is never satisfied with me having chronic issues, so she found a device called a Quell, which you kind of strap on under your knee, and it sends electrical signals through your body, which helps tell the brain to send out the natural endorphins to help kill off the pain. And so I don't need to use it all of the time. Between that and some medicine called PENSAID, and that's PENNSAID, which is an ointment that you can put on, which will destroy inflammation in your joints. Those two things have pretty much made it to where, because I have no ligaments and because I'm missing cartilage, I will get knee pain. It will twist. Certain activities will hurt it, but I can make the pain go away. And I can then be more active, which will make me more healthy, which will make me more active, which will make me more healthy. And I don't have to get my knee replaced under 50, which would mean I would get it again.
I said, I'm starting to see a pattern.
Yeah. And also, too, you know, when you don't have chronic pain, that helps a lot with energy levels. So I can be a bit more energetic throughout more of the day, where, you know, for a while I was coming home and I was getting very little done during the week. I'm starting to get stuff done during the week again, along with my time off. Because the way I work my schedules, I don't work Friday, Saturday, or Sunday at my day job. So I focus on this stuff at that point. I'm very grateful for my wife pressing me into doing that. And there was another issue I've been having. I was in a building that had mold issues, and it caused my allergies to explode. I never really had allergy issues when I was growing up. I was a scout. I worked outside for 4 years. But after I was in this building, it took a few years to figure it out because the poison kind of builds up very slowly in your system. And it got to the point where when I went in to get a scratch test to see if I was actually allergic to something, I went into anaphylactic shock.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I never do this.
Yay! And I tried shots for a while, but the problem was I would go into anaphylactic shock occasionally, which is not something that you want to do. So I stopped doing that. I started doing medicine, which essentially Singular, which is like this prescription drug that like attacks a bunch of things. And then I had another drug I had to take, which was like a prescription version of Zyrtec on top of that. And then I had a nasal spray I was taken on top of that. So I was on 3 forms of medication. And once again, when you have allergy issues, it helps cause fatigue beyond the irritations. And part of it is because you can't breathe. So just a couple of weeks ago, I got a device called MyPurMist. And it's a very simple, obvious kind of device I've never seen before. But it actually really helped get rid of my allergy pains. So what I'm kind of getting to here is with those 2 devices, I've radically improved my health condition over the past year as well, too. And I'm very grateful to my wife for kind of pushing me to keep trying new things until I found something that worked, that allowed me to be more present in what I'm doing here on the show and have more energy so we can move forward and have a huge year next year.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited about next year. Saying next year leads me into my next 2, actually. I think I'm kind of going to bundle them into one. I know I've already said it, but I'm very thankful for Jeff. Well, kind of. And I also have... in here, I'm really grateful that I'm just better than Jeff at everything. So those 2 things are exciting leading into this next year because Jeff's going to need my help to really elevate content, really catapult him into a stratosphere that he would otherwise not be able to reach. So, I'm very thankful for that. Kidding aside, go ahead.
I was going to touch on my third point here, which is Michael's help, which is so invaluable. I just want to say how thankful I am for Michael.
so invaluable, Jeff can't put a price on it. And in fact, he refuses.
I refuses to put a price on it because he is so invaluable.
That's right. Can't put a number on that. But it's funny because that leads me right into my number 4, which is financial stability. I'm very, very grateful that I'm at a point in my life where I don't worry about money. I don't, and it's not that I make a lot of money. I'm not rich by any stretch. And my wife and I are dealing with debt. We are slowly chipping away at it. But there was a point in my life when I lived in New York, and you probably know this story, Jeff. Anxiety nightmares about money. Like I would literally wake up in the middle of the night anxious. And you know me, I'm not an anxious person. I'm pretty laid back.
Yeah.
But I was having all these anxiety dreams and all this stuff. And you have to understand that in New York, I moved out there with a mutual friend of Jeff and mine's, this gentleman named Greg. Hey, Greg, if you're listening, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for everything you have done for me. Well, Greg and I moved out there. We had like no money, and we didn't have jobs on and off because we worked freelance. And I remember nights where we literally vehemently fought over a spoonful of peanut butter for dinner because there was no other food. And it was like, you had the last spoonful of that peanut butter. That spoonful of peanut butter is mine. And we're like really, really close friends. We were like brothers at the time, and we're like really drawing lines. We're like angry at each other. They're like, "That's peanut butter is mine." And literally nothing else to eat. And I remember being multiple months back on the rent because neither one of us was working. And so cut to a few years later, and I was having all these anxiety dreams and not sleeping well and just not in a good mental state because of finances. And Greg and I were no longer roommates at that point. He had moved away, and my another mutual friend, Jim. Hi, Jim. Jim and I were roommates at the time. And Greg took me out to lunch one day, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you're not really in a good way about money and about, your mental state about things." And I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't been sleeping well, blah, 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 blah." Let me ask you a couple of questions. He's like, are you eating? I'm like, yeah, of course I'm eating. I'm eating. He's like, "Okay, good." And he's like, "And the rent's on time. Like, you don't owe the landlord any money, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "The rent's on time." I'm like, "I owe Jim money, because he's been paying the rent, And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "But you owe Jim money. You don't owe the landlord." I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "So you're eating. The rent's paid." He's like, "You're fine. You're fine." And it was such a simple thing to point out to me, but something in that conversation, it right at that moment, it clicked. And since then, I have never genuinely worried about money again. Even when I haven't had much or when I've, had a lot of bills stacked up, it's not something that I worry about anymore. It's like I got a roof over my head. I got food in my belly. I got people in my life that love me, and I got fun things that I do all the time. So, the financial stability that I have now is something I'm so grateful for because I do have a good job, and it affords me the ability to buy microphones like the one I'm using now and get the equipment that I can have so that I can share my perspective with you guys and hang out with Jeff like this.
Yeah.
So.
And I have to say, and that's really one for me too, is just having a job where I don't love my job. I like my job. I do not love it. But
Ditto.
It helps provide me with extra money. And my wife and I went through some pretty bad financial times ourselves where when she got sick with cancer, I had been starting to I've been trying to start a new business, and it was just starting to make money when she had to stop working, and we had huge financial issues. And we racked up a lot of debt, like to the point where our non-mortgage debt was probably as big as our mortgage debt, which in New England is quite a bit. And she finally got through it, and we had years of very lean times trying to not lose our house and basically get rid of some of that debt that we had to acquire because of me not really thinking through how to start a business before I did it, and then her getting sick on top of it. Made us very poor for a while because, especially with a house in New England, they're very expensive if you're not from around here. So even a normal sort of middle-class house like we have, at the time that we bought it cost almost $300,000. And we had almost that much in personal debt as well, too. And luckily, we both have what you would call good shovels. So when she could start working again, we dug ourselves out and we got rid of everything except for our mortgage as debt so far. But that has really increased our disposable income so we can do stuff like this. I can subsidize, the audio hosting, and we can do all of these kinds of things without financial risk to my family. So I'm very grateful for that as well. And probably the final thing I'm grateful for, and that I really worked on this year, was improving my time management skills. And I don't know, have we done an episode on this show about how I do my time management? I don't know.
We've touched base on that, and we did the Kaizen board episode, and we've talked about downtime. I don't know that we've actually done a how-to time management. I think that would be a really good topic for us to.
That's probably one that
it always comes up. There's a lot of other topics we've talked about.
Yeah, because time management works into everything. It affects everything that you do. And I've gotten very good this year, and it takes practice, don't get me wrong. It's kind of like when you start budgeting your money in your household. It takes you 3 months to start really getting a good guess of what you really pay bills on. Because, there are things that you don't know that you spend money on that you do if you don't budget your money. So, but I've learned how to budget my time to do essentially a time budget. And that has let me get so much more done because I understand what I'll get done work-wise in a certain number of hours a week on my side stuff. obviously my work stuff is pre-scheduled for me, my day job, but it allows me to sit there and go, this is what I can get done this week because of the hours I have. And it helps take away that worry from me. So I'm very grateful on spending the time and some frustration when you get going working on my time management skills, because I can still get better, obviously. Everyone can always improve at that, but time is one thing you can't recapture. It's like you can get a slightly better paying job and maybe sometimes even a greatly better paying job, but time you can't get back. So I'm very grateful with that, because it also gives me more time to have leisure with my wife, because we both know what we're doing when we're doing it. And we even schedule that together. So we know that, hey, when it comes to Friday night, we're going to go out and we're going to have date night.
Yeah, for me, I think my last one on my list is the just the fun stuff. I'm just grateful for the ability and the space in my life to be able to on things that I love to do. My wife and I bought some bikes this year, so we go biking. And just the other day, we actually drove out further than Boston, like 140 miles away, so that we could buy some exercise bikes from a gym that was selling some of their old equipment. So we drove 140 miles one way and then back. Bikes, and I live on the third floor, and they're heavy, so we had to carry them upstairs too. It was quite an effort, but I'm grateful that I could do things like that, and like I could afford to go get those bikes. So now my wife and I, during the winter when it's freezing out, we can still hop on bikes and we can exercise. And I'm so grateful to be able to do this show. Or if I come home and I'm frustrated from a day of work, I could just sit down and play my Xbox for a while and just chill out. Like, I'm very grateful that the structure of my life affords me much leisure endeavors, which my life wasn't always like that.
All right, so summing up this episode is pretty easy. It's really a big thank you to the audience and a reminder to try and be more grateful in your life. It'll help lead you to more positive thinking, and that will help you be more productive in your life. And then you'll be forced to do stuff like the music episode to be able to get into a bad mood because you need to write for a character in a bad mood. It's a much better thing to have to do than have to listen to music to get into a good mood, so you can write for a character who's in a good mood.
Yeah, look for opportunities. Anytime you see like conflict in your life or something that bothers you, that is an opportunity. That it is an opportunity in disguise. It's your access to gratitude. Like, really, the things that you don't like, the things that are difficult in your life, that is an access to gratitude. And obviously the things that you do like in your life and the things that are going well, it's really easy to be thankful for those things.
Yeah. So, once again, thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed this unplanned, but planned episode. And we will see you next week. And remember, if you do join the Facebook group...
Hang on.
Hang on.
I was going to say, don't run us out of the landing just yet. We still haven't done the Worldbuilder task of the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
You forgot that for a second,
I didn't.
Yeah, you did. You were about to close that up. You did so forget.
I was wrapping up to get to that point, you see.
Yeah. Do you have a Worldbuilder task for the day?
Yes. Now, you guys can't see this, but I'm scanning my bookshelf to look for something.
I thought you were just looking away thoughtfully. You're trying to find an idea on the shelf.
Yeah, so essentially the worldbuilding task for this week is read a book on world religions. The Encyclopedia of World Religions would be my recommendation. It'll give you a lot of great content on how to make more thoughtful, realistic-looking religions. Sea plant.
Yeah, that's on subject. Sure. Go.
It's only a textbook.
Moving on. The Worldbuilder task. I'm going to say sit down and take 5 minutes. 5 minutes to be present with, think about the things in your life that do bother you and try to turn the perspective on them. Think about them from a way of how you can be thankful for even the things in your life that are bothering you and that you don't like. And also try to remind yourself of the things that you might be taking for granted.
Well, that did sound like a real world task, but just saying.
That I said that's the real world task.
Okay.
No?
Well,
You don't. I did say that.
Well, you'll hear when you listen to the episode.
Play the tape back. Play the tape back.
It doesn't work that way.
And I just wanted to say, I think you were about to get into this, but I want, if you weren't going to get into this, I just wanted to say, again, thank you guys so much for spreading the word about the show. But I so encourage you, join us on the Facebook page. Tell your friends about it too. Anyone you know who's starting to listen to the show to encourage them to come visit us, to say hello.
Yep. We're a small group right now, but join in now. You get a lot more influence about how the show grows. There's going to be some exclusive content I start doing on Sundays, as I was saying before. It'll be through the Garduel page, but then it will be shared directly for the people in the group as well, too. So make sure to do that.
And just one more thing about the Facebook page. If we just irritate you guys while you listen to the show, like you like the show, but you might not necessarily like either one of us as people, and I won't take offense to that, I still encourage you to join us on the Facebook page, because that's how we're going to build our community. Like right now, we've got this huge number of people, and we're all over the world. Like we've got listeners in 70 countries at this point. You guys are literally all over the planet, and it'd be so cool for you guys to meet each other. You get on the Facebook page, you guys can start making friends all over the place, and you guys can start hanging out with other world builders. Like maybe you're working on some strange world building project. I guarantee you might find someone else that could help you, that might be an accountability partner, that might want to help you write it. Like whatever you're doing, like, come jump into the pool. The water is warm.
Yes, it is. And there'll also be stuff I'm doing to try and help you guys as well, too, on some of the non-world building tasks. So, like me, you can start maybe writing off some of these expenses as a world builder off as something else, or at least helping you prioritize your events and what's going on. So I'll be doing some stuff too to try and make sure that you guys are doing good time management. And those of you who are interested in the business aspect of it too, there'll be like 3 layers to the group. And like Mike said, if you just want to come troll me, hey,
Michael.
Oh, yeah. And like what Michael said was, if you just want to come troll me because I can't say his name correctly, then come bust my chops. I dare you. I won't fight back. I'll probably just appreciate it because I'm grateful.
I'm so grateful to you, Jeff.
I'm so grateful to you, Michael.
Oh, no. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you so much for listening to the World Builder's Anvil. We would love it if you would share the World Builder's Anvil with 2 of your friends, and so would they. If they are unfamiliar with podcasts, then you get to introduce them to the wonderful world of podcasting by showing them Stitcher or iTunes, or, best of all, just send them to our website, www.garduel.com. That's GARDUL.com.
Now strike while the mithril's hot.